Ever since Jarvis hit the big screen in Iron Man, that has been my smart home in-game, and I think I'm finally at the point that I can share how far I've gotten. So if you want to know how I built Jarvis using Home Assistant, stick around because we're about to automate some boring stuff. Welcome back to SlackerLabs. My name is Jeff. If you heard me on episode 3 of the Smart Home Collective podcast, you'll know my vision of a smart home is all about automation. Even more, those automations need to be able to understand context, and then use that context to make decisions, enabling them to be smarter automations. Without that ability in your smart home platform, I would argue that what you have isn't really a smart home. But based on the number of smart home tour videos I've seen on YouTube, I'm in the minority in that debate. What isn't up for debate is that if you haven't subscribed to the Smart Home Collective podcast, you should. Lee is creating entertaining content by pulling together content creators from around the smart home space. Well, and a dude named Gareth who seems to watch a lot of smart home YouTube videos. But in any case, you should definitely check it out. And be sure to listen to episode 3. Anyway, back to why we're really here. Like I said, Jarvis has been my guiding inspiration for my smart home. And if you've been watching my videos for any time, or you've dug around in my smart home config on GitHub, you'll know that I refer to Jarvis in my config a lot. Now, of course, we're a long way from having true artificial intelligence in our smart home, but Home Assistant is one of the platforms out there that allows us to fake it. So that's what I did. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I've set up my version of Jarvis. Okay, if it hasn't been entirely clear up to this point, my version of Jarvis is really just randomized audible notifications. There's no real AI piece to this setup. But since a lot of what we call AI these days is simply programmed decision logic, I think this counts. Anyway, to fake this, I needed a few things. First, it needed to sound like it was powered by an advanced AI and not a computer running Windows 98. So after trying some different text-to-speech integrations, I settled on Amazon Polly. Polly isn't the only option that would work here though. It was just the one that had the voice my family thought sounded the closest to the Paul Bettany version of Jarvis. I did a video a while back comparing what I consider to be the top 4 text-to-speech integrations in Home Assistant. So if you don't already have a text-to-speech integration, check that video out. I walk through each of those options and tell you how to set them up. Next, this audible notification system needed to be modular. While I've built a lot of my smart home on the idea that I don't want to flick a button or interact with it in any way, I still have what I consider to be 3 main physical interfaces for my smart home. The Home Assistant UI, Google Home, and to a lesser extent, Amazon Echoes. This meant that my Jarvis needed to be able to handle triggers from multiple platforms, with as little duplication of the actual audible notification or text-to-speech pieces as possible. And sticking with the theme of faking an advanced AI, I needed the notifications to be randomized. For example, if the back door was left open, we might hear,
"The back door is standing open. And the automatic door closer appears to be broken. So, you know what to do? Time to get physical."
But then, if it was left open again 5 minutes later, instead of hearing the same message, we might hear,
"The back door was left open. Hey. The door was just opened and this is crazy. But now you know. So close it maybe."
That one makes me laugh every time. I didn't want these notifications to become background noise, so the randomization was important. I also needed the system to know which speaker to use because I have speakers all over the house. I solved that piece using a homegrown room presence sensor that I built using smart home tech that I already had in this house. And of course, I have a video walking you through how to set that up. I'll leave a link to it in the description. And lastly, the house needed a snarky personality, which was probably the easiest part to set up. You just have to channel your inner Paul Hibbert. My working setup is heavy on YAML and Jinja because a lot of the decision logic is complex because of my specific use case using multiple voice assistants and multiple speakers. But it's very possible that I went overboard. Anyway, before we get into how I built Jarvis, I wanted to give you a sample of what Jarvis does for me throughout the day. And it all starts before we even get out of bed.
Good morning. It is 6:30 a.m. The weather in Grayson is 76 degrees with rain. Based on the forecast, it's going to be hot outside, so I suggest wearing shorts. Skylar was up and moving at 5:47, and he is currently in the theater playing Minecraft. Traffic to work appears heavier than normal. So you better get a move on.
That morning wake-up triggers every workday at 6:30, and it gives us enough information to get our day started. My son gets a similar message in his bedroom at the time that he needs to wake up as well. And that clothing forecast that you heard was built for him, since he really doesn't understand yet that wearing shorts when it's 30 degrees outside is not really all that comfortable. And that's 30 degrees Fahrenheit for you cultured folks using Celsius. Then, once we're up and in the kitchen, Jarvis gives us a daily briefing that contains things like calendar events, security issues that happened overnight that might need our attention, and just a general sense of what's going on in the house. After that, things become more context-based, and we get information as we need it. Home Assistant might let us know that we need to move the clothes from the washer to the dryer.
I do not mean to interrupt, but it has been 4 hours since the washer finished its cycle. Do you like your clothes smelling like mildew? Because that is what is happening right now.
Sometimes we get busy and we forget. And it also reminds us of upcoming events.
Pardon me, but Skylar has jiu-jitsu in 45 minutes. Gather your things and leave now.
Always take a traveler. Some of these notifications are time-based, like the wake-up ones. Some of these are based on school days, or trigger when the kitchen occupancy sensor turns on between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. And some of these are triggered just via voice command, either the Google Home or the Amazon Echo. Activate barn door protocol.
There are still terabytes of calculations required before I can.
I'll just activate it.
Oh, whatever. I have enabled sentry mode. All exterior doors are sealed.
All of these are built around doing a task, and they're simply routines set up in the voice assistants that trigger a script in Home Assistant that provides a randomized Starkey response and handles the task. But most of Jarvis's interactions with us throughout the day require no prompting from us. They're just notifications based on context or sensor changes inside the house. For example, if the security system is armed and one of the doors opens, we get a helpful announcement throughout the house.
Excuse me. My security protocols are being overridden. The garage door has been opened. Countermeasures will be deployed in 90 seconds.
Now, anyone seeing this and wondering about my security system, disarming it isn't as simple as issuing a voice command, just to make it harder for random people coming into the house and disarming the security. Anyway, let's get into the configuration that makes all of this possible. All of the code that I'm going to go through here is in my GitHub repo, and there'll be a link to all of it in the description of this video. But since most people don't have multiple voice assistants in their house, I've simplified my scripts a bit for the purpose of this video. But if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll give you a high-level look at the actual scripts that I use to power all of this in my house, and you'll get a sense of just how deep down the rabbit hole I've gone. For now, let's start with the basics. Like I said, Amazon Polly is where the voice comes from, and at the top of my notify.yaml file is my Amazon Polly configuration. If you want the full how-to on Amazon Polly, check out my video on the 4 big text-to-speech options, where I go through the process of setting up Amazon Polly. If you have Amazon Polly and you want your house to sound like mine, then the voice you want is Brian. I'm also using the Neural Engine, which I think sounds better, although it costs a bit more. And yeah, after 12 months, Amazon Polly is going to cost a little bit of money. I was paying a little over 20 cents a month previously, and with the Neural Engine, I'm paying 70 cents a month. But like I said, any text-to-speech integration will work here. Oh, and one last thing. I'm using SAML as the text type. This means that we have to include some extra text in our message, but I'll show you that in a bit. Anyway, for the purposes of this video, I created a simplified version of my setup, so it would be easier to walk you through how to set this up yourself. And it all starts with this speech engine simplified script. This is part of the modular setup I have in my setup. And in my setup, the speech engine script handles routing anything Jarvis says to the correct text-to-speech integration based on the media player I want to use. For most people that use a single text-to-speech integration, this simplified version will work. I use a script here because there are parts of the text-to-speech integration service calls that I didn't want to type out each time I had to use the text-to-speech service. For example, these conditions at the top are universal for any of my speech notifications, which means anytime I want to use text-to-speech, I would require a condition to make sure quiet time is off. If you saw my recent video on 5 built-in integrations you should be using, this one will make sense. But for everyone else, quiet time is on between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., and this condition prevents general notifications from playing at that time. Likewise, the family needs to be home, otherwise why play the notification? And vacation mode should be off. So by using a script to handle the text-to-speech, we just have to write those conditions here. If we did all of this in our automations, we would have to include these conditions in every automation with a text-to-speech integration, which is why I use a script. This is my way of adhering to the don't repeat yourself pattern in my Home Assistant automations. Next, in this script, we can call our text-to-speech service and pass it the data like our media player and our message. Now, for most people, you're not going to have 3 text-to-speech service calls in this script, but I wanted to show you 3 different examples. So if you copy this, just pick one, or add your own and delete the rest. Again, since we're using a script, we can use parameters to make this script more universal. You could, of course, skip the parameters and just hardcode the entity ID and the message, but then you're back to needing a script or an automation for every media player and message combination. So instead of hardcoding it, we're going to use some parameters. That way, when we call this script in our automation, we just have to supply it the media player by passing it as the who parameter. Likewise, we'll just pass message as the message parameter. And since I'm using SAML with Amazon Polly, I have to wrap every message in these speak tags. Using a script here means I can define that as part of this message value, then just drop the message parameter in the middle, so I don't have to worry about typing those tags every time. If you want to use the Amazon Media Player integration text-to-speech option, you could call that instead. In this case, that service uses a notify entity, and that would be the value of our who parameter. Message is of course still message, and we can include the data type so we don't have to worry about it each time either. And lastly, there's an example of the Nabu Casa text-to-speech integration. Entity ID will be stored in who, and we'll make sure to include any of the parameters that this service call needs, like language and gender, so we don't have to type that every time we call this service. Then, once you've modified that to use your text-to-speech service you've chosen, then all we have to do is call that in any automation by simply adding this action. Service script.speech_engine_simplified, then under data, we provide the who, which depending on your text-to-speech integration will be a media player or a notify service, and message. I did include an example here of how I use my room presence sensor in this to determine who as well. And each time you want to use it, you just need to add 4 lines to any automation where we want to kick off a notification. Now, to randomize the message, we just need to modify the message part. And to demonstrate how to do that, here's a simple script that plays a random haiku. In this example, you would just replace the service call with the simplified speech engine script above, and your data would mostly stay the same. Who would be your entity that you want to play this message on. Then under message, we add the part for Jarvis to say. This one has some basic stuff at the top. I know a haiku, this one is called. Then after that, we have our randomized part, and in this example, this script will pick from 4 different haikus based on this little bit of Jinja. Now you just need to call this script on National Haiku Day, or add it to your Amazon Echo or your Google Home, and create a routine with a voice trigger of your choosing that then calls this script, like call your voice assistant and then ask it to read you a haiku. The template used in the last bit of that message is the key to randomizing your notifications. And if you look through my config on GitHub, you will see I use it a lot. After that, all that's left to do is have fun creating each of your notifications. Like I said, that was an extremely simplified version of my setup, but it should allow you to build a simple Jarvis system. I plan on doing a deeper dive into each of those notifications that you heard on this video and how I set them up. But I didn't want to include it on this video because I suspect it's more than most people want or need. But just in case you are a big geek like me, I wanted to leave you with the location and a high-level look at the actual scripts I use in my setup. Most of my setup is in my notify.yaml file in my packages directory. Here you'll find the script speech engine that handles routing my notifications to the right text-to-speech integration that I spoke about earlier. And it's built so I can pass 3 parameters. Voice, which allows me to choose a text-to-speech integration manually. Who, which is the speaker or the room I want the notification to play in. And message, which of course is message. Speech engine then makes some decisions based on those parameters and sends them to the correct voice script. JARVIS voice, the A_voice, or Nabu_voice. Again, I created scripts to handle this so that regardless of what text-to-speech integration I wanted to use, I simply have to call the script for that particular integration. And then all I have to remember to pass is a who parameter for the media player and message, which is my message. These scripts then handle turning on the correct media player based on the who parameter, adjusting the volume, and then finally sending the message. And in some cases, they handle lowering the volume of other speakers so that they could be heard. Now, to get the message, I have a couple of different patterns. First, in the notify.yaml file, you'll find a script called status_ANNC. One of the things I wanted Jarvis to do is provide information all in one message, like say good morning or good afternoon as appropriate. Then perhaps, depending on the current position of the sun, tell me how long until sunrise or sundown. And I didn't want to have to program all of that each time. So this script, status_ANNC, is the solution. Actually, it's a solution I stole from others, but it totally works. This handles most of the event-based notifications, and it essentially allows me to take multiple sentences or thoughts from different areas and combine them all into a single message. For example, if I wanted an automation to trigger when lightning is near and make an announcement, I could use this script. And then I just decide at the time that I write the automation what information I want to provide. For example, for this, maybe I want Jarvis to give a greeting, give the time, and then give the lightning warning. And to do that, I would call this script like this. My service would be script.status_ANNC. Then I call each of those pieces like this. The one simply tells the script that it needs to include that part of this script in the message. Think of this as blocks or separate parts of the message. The call greeting line will include a greeting like good morning or good afternoon, and it already has been set up to determine which one to use based on the time that this script runs. So all I have to do is add the call_greeting line, and if it's 9 a.m., Jarvis will say good morning, and if it's 2 p.m., he'll say good afternoon. And the end result will be a single text-to-speech notification that contains all of those elements in that order with punctuation, so that when it's read, it comes across as one single thought. Honestly, the hardest part outside of building each of these parts is writing them all out in a way that no matter what blocks or parts you pick, the final message you hear comes across as a seamless message. Again, a super complex setup for a simple thing, but it does work, and it took quite a bit of time to set all of this up. But now that it is, I rarely have to touch it. I also have a few speech templates under the templates directory. Here you'll find the logic for big briefings like the wake-up report and the daily briefing. In each one of these files, there are macros or functions, just like you saw in the status_ANNC script, and conditions written into the text to enable different information to be conveyed based on the time of day or the status of a sensor. Again, I plan on doing a deeper dive into how I set each one of these up in a future video, because this is the kind of ability that I think Home Assistant gives us that other smart home platforms don't. And while it's not true AI, as long as you're willing to take the time and do a little programming yourself, you can make it sound pretty close or act like AI, at least to those on the outside looking in. If you want to know more details about a specific part of my Jarvis setup or these text-to-speech notifications, let me know in the comments so I know where to focus future videos. And if you found value in this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already for more smart home content like this. As always, thanks for taking time out of your home automation projects to watch mine. Until next time, go automate the boring stuff.